Hey guys, it's Andrew here from Novorésumé. I'm here to talk to you about one of the biggest red flags out there, employment gaps. Hiring managers aren't particularly happy when they see one, and who can blame them? An employment gap could mean anything from jail time to sheer laziness. So, if you have an employment gap, you're probably worrying about how it will make you look as a candidate. But hear me out. There's nothing to be scared of as long as you have a reason for your employment gap. So let's bridge that gap on your resume together. I know, you think an attractive resume and an employment gap just don't go hand in hand. Several months or more missing from your work experience just looks awkward. But trying to push it under the rug won't make it magically disappear. Depending on how long your employment gap is, it's very likely the hiring manager will ask about it. So, take a deep breath and relax. It's not as bad as you might be thinking. The first thing you need to remember is that you should always address an employment gap that's longer than a few weeks. There are three places to do it during your job hunt. The first one is in your resume, the second one is in your cover letter, and the third one is during your interview. The best approach is to mention your employment gap on all of these occasions. Honesty is always the best policy. The only exception here is if your employment gap is outdated. The hiring manager doesn't care that you took a year off in the beginning of the 2000s. So long as you've had no employment gaps in the recent years, you're in the clear. Any recent employment gap, however, just has to be addressed. Let's go over a few general tips on how to explain it. 1. Highlight any new skills you've gained. The most important thing to remember when addressing your employment gap is to show the hiring manager that you were still growing professionally. For example, if you were laid off and you used the time you took to find a new job to gain new skills or catch up on industry trends, you should mention that in your resume. Add an entry to your resume's work experience, dedicated to your period of unemployment as seen here. Number 2. Don't overshare. While it's important to explain your employment gap, there really is no need to go in too much details about it. Whatever the reason behind your employment gap is, the hiring manager only needs to know how that affects what you can do for them. So, for example, if you took a year off to recover from some kind of trauma or injury, you don't owe anyone the details. How many doctors you went to during your recovery is unnecessary information as far as your employment history is concerned. Number 3, be confident. How you talk about your employment gap can be as important as the reason behind it. If you get nervous when the hiring manager asks about your employment gap, it's not a good look for you. Practice talking about your employment gap in advance and try to relax before your interview. Now, I'm going to give you 7 reasons that don't make having an employment gap a red flag. And let's start with number 1, family. These might be the most common reasons candidates have employment gaps in their work history. Family is extremely important to everyone, and hiring managers are understanding about it. Whether you took time off from work to take care of your children or helped a relative recover their health, this employment gap is a perfectly acceptable reason. Just make sure you make it clear that the issue that needed your attention has been taken care of. For example, maybe your kids are old enough to go to school now, so you don't have to take care of them the whole day. Number 2, illness. Health always comes first, and if you had to take time off to recover from an illness, no one can judge you for that. After all, you can't be a reliable employee if you can't take care of yourself. So, if you took time off due to an illness, you have no reason to worry about it. Just tell the hiring manager you're fully recovered and able to work. That's all there is to it. Number 3, injury. Another health-related reason that justifies employment gaps is injury. Any injury that stops you from working are completely normal reason for an employment gap. You can mention them without hesitation. For example, if you work in construction and injured your back, any hiring manager would understand that you needed time to heal. Number 4, failure. You might be thinking that your failures are the last thing you want your future employer to know about you. But here's the thing. Failing is extremely common. Like if you had your own business and it failed, that's life. Sometimes people fail. In fact, even if your startup ended up failing, it still shows that you're a self-starter. Show the hiring manager how you bounce back from the experience and what you have learned. An employee who learns from their mistake is way better than an employee who pretends they never made any. Number 5. Self-discovery. Maybe at some point in your professional career, you realized you had a dream you wanted to fulfill, like traveling somewhere, or you decided to completely turn your life around after years of working in a completely different field. Whatever it was, something inspired you to really think about what you want and press pause on work for a while. Now, you have figured it out and you're exactly where you wanted to be. Tell the hiring manager exactly what the time off helped you with, and you won't have any trouble if this is the reason for your employment gap. Number 6. Education. This might be the best reason to have an employment gap. Taking time away from work to deepen your knowledge is probably going to get you more pats on the back than problems during your job hunt. No one minds an employee who takes their education seriously or devotes time to improving their skills. If you took a break to earn a degree or some kind of certification that's related to your field, be sure to add that information on your resume. And number 7, burnout. Maybe you weren't expecting this one, but burnout is a perfectly valid reason to take time away from work. In fact, burnout is classified as an occupational phenomenon by the World Health Organization. That's because burnout can take a serious toll on your mental and physical well-being. So if you took some time off to get back on your feet, you can always be open and sincere with the hiring managers about your experience. So if any of these reasons apply to you, you're in luck and already in the clear. Now let's look at an example of a resume with an employment gap. William has a long period of unemployment, but he's explained his unemployment gap in detail. During the time he was unemployed, he focused on his education, and we can even see the qualification he earned in his education section. And that's everything you need to know about addressing an unemployment gap on your resume. You won't have any problem talking about it during your next job interview and landing that job. Thanks for watching. If you like our advice, subscribe to our YouTube channel or check out our career blog at novorésumé.com.
Career Advice by Novorésumé.